You walk into a room and there it is, a painting, enormous, lifelike, almost too real. But something feels off. The figures inside aren't just posing, they seem caught mid-motion, aware of something you can't quite see. A young princess, her watchful attendants, a looming painter, and then the mirror. It doesn't show them, it shows them. The king, the queen. But where are they? Are they in the room? Are you in their place? And before you can answer, before you can even blink, the painting has already pulled you in. Who is really watching who? What hidden trick is Velázquez playing? And in this grand illusion, are you the observer or the observed? Madrid is packed with incredible art. Museums overflow with paintings, galleries showcase countless masterpieces, and exhibitions never stop. But sometimes the best way to understand art is to focus on one painting, to look at it long enough that it reveals all its secrets. And Las Meninas always has something new to discover. Diego Velázquez wasn't an ordinary painter, he was a master of illusion. In Las Meninas, he captured a moment that feels alive. The little princess stands at the centre, but is she really the main subject? The mirror shows the king and queen, but where are they standing? Velázquez painted himself into the scene, but is he observing or being observed? Every detail is precise, yet nothing is certain. Las Meninas is a mystery that pulls viewers in, making them part of the painting itself. The more you look, the more questions it asks. Even at first glance, Las Meninas demands attention. It's massive, taking up nearly an entire wall at the Prado Museum. Visitors crowd around, but the painting's presence quiets the room. Even noisy school groups fall silent before it. The size, the detail, the depth, it all adds to the painting's power. At the centre stands the Infanta Margarita, a 5-year-old princess. She is surrounded by her ladies-in-waiting, the Meninas, who attend to her every need. This little girl is more than just a child. She represents the future of Spain's royal family. Her father, King Philip IV, had already lost one son. Now all hopes rested on Margarita, proof that the royal line could continue. In that era, royal children weren't just family members, they were symbols of power, diplomacy and alliances. Her portrait is as much about politics as it is about art. The setting is just as grand. The scene takes place in the royal palace, in a room filled with paintings from the king's collection. Velázquez himself was more than just a painter, he was the king's chamberlain, responsible for decorating and curating these spaces. The dark paintings on the back wall serve a purpose. They fade into the background, making Las Meninas shine even brighter. And then there's Velázquez himself. He places himself in the painting, brush in hand, as if caught in the act of painting. But what is he painting? The mystery deepens when we notice the mirror in the background. It reflects the image of King Philip IV and his wife Mariana. Are they standing in the very spot where the viewer stands? Is Velázquez painting them? Or is he painting the entire scene we see before us? Which brings us to the question, what exactly is happening in Las Meninas? The oldest comment about the painting comes from Luca Giordano, a flashy Italian painter who called it the theology of painting, suggesting that it was far ahead of other art as theology is ahead of regular knowledge. Maybe a bit dramatic, but hey, art critics have always loved a good overstatement. At first glance, it seems like the Infanta Margarita is the subject, but in Las Meninas, nothing is ever that simple. An early title for the painting was Velázquez painting the portrait of an Infanta. Yet Margarita isn't even facing the artist, and he doesn't seem interested in her either. Most of the 9 figures, including a tiny man about to exit in the background, are all staring at something outside the canvas. The only people who could command that level of attention? The king and queen themselves. And sure enough, we see them reflected in the mirror behind Velázquez. It's as if they're standing exactly where we, the viewers, are. So, does that mean the painting captures the moment when the king and queen walked in to see Velázquez painting their daughter? That would explain why the Infanta and her attendant seem to be mid-curtsy. Even the court dwarf, Nicolas Pertusato, is nudging the king's dog as if trying to get it to wake up and greet its master. In the background, the queen's chamberlain, José Nieto Velázquez, appears to be preparing for the royal couple's exit. Fun fact, historical records show that the light-filled stairwell he's standing in was actually designed by Velázquez himself. Talk about a man of many talents. But what if the scene is even more elaborate? Maybe Velázquez isn't painting the Infanta at all. Maybe it's the king and queen sitting for their own portrait, and their daughter has simply wandered in with her entourage to watch. If that's the case, then Velázquez has pulled off something even more brilliant.
Wow.
He's made the royal couple us. When we stand before Las Meninas, we take their place in the scene. We glance at the mirror on the back wall, expecting to see ourselves, but instead we see a reflection of royalty. Except that theory falls apart too. Because when we really analyse the space in the painting, things don't quite add up. Scientists who recreated the room using computer models found that if the king and queen were standing right in front of the mirror, their reflection wouldn't be visible. The canvas on Velázquez's easel would block it, which means the faces in the mirror aren't the real royals standing before it, they're the painted ones on Velázquez's unseen canvas. So, after all that, what does Las Meninas actually show? The answer? A paradox. A puzzle with no single solution. Velázquez has managed to paint a reality that constantly shifts, depending on how you look at it. Just when you think you've figured it out, the painting reminds you that you haven't. And maybe that's the whole point. So we think we've got it all figured out. Las Meninas captures Velázquez painting a royal portrait. A neat, plausible explanation, but like every other attempt to pin down this masterpiece, it's flawed. Because if we take a closer look at what's really happening, it becomes clear. The only thing Velázquez could be painting is himself. Think about it. We're looking at a painting by Velázquez, and there he is staring back at us, paintbrush in hand. Isn't that, by definition, a self-portrait? Artists throughout history have depicted themselves peeking past their easels as they capture their own likeness. And how do they do it? A mirror, obviously. Without one, how else could they paint themselves accurately? Which means we, as viewers of Las Meninas, are not in the position of the king and queen, as we might assume. Instead, we are in the position of a massive mirror, the very one Velázquez must have been using to observe himself. The Infanta and her entourage aren't staring at us, they're staring at their reflections. Or maybe it's more complicated than that. Maybe we aren't standing in front of the scene at all. What's in a mirror is always seen from the perspective of the person looking into it. If that's true, then Velázquez has put us in his position while he paints. The act of looking at Las Meninas puts us inside his own vision. Let's push this further. If Velázquez is painting himself as he sees himself in a mirror, then the image on his canvas must be identical to Las Meninas itself. The painting is simultaneously two things: the completed masterpiece that we observe in 2025 and the unfinished work that still sits on his easel in 1656. It exists in two realities, two timelines, one in the past, one in the present, forever entangled. And yet, it's not that simple. The more time you spend trying to untangle Las Meninas, the more you think about dealing with artists who played fair. People like Michelangelo, Van Gogh or Duchamp. But Velázquez is playing a different game, one built on contradictions. For instance, we already established that the reflection in the mirror on the back wall must be the royal portrait Velázquez is supposedly painting. But if he's painting them, then how can he also be painting himself? And there's another problem. We, the viewers, seem to be positioned somewhere near the brightly lit doorway at the back of the room, nowhere near where Velázquez is actually standing with his easel. If this were truly a mirror reflection of his viewpoint, then the painting within the painting would be angled from his position at the left side of the room, not ours. These contradictions aren't accidental, they are deliberate. And they force us to reconsider Velázquez's place in this world he's created. He's positioned off to the side, yet he dominates the canvas. He's passive, merely observing, yet he's the only figure actively doing something. In a way, Las Meninas is a mediation on the role of the artist. Always watching, always recording, yet never fully part of the world they capture. Velázquez presents himself as an omniscient observer, at once sidelined and central. He also alleviates what should be a simple moment, a painter at work, into something grand. By borrowing the scale and gravitas of history paintings, which were traditionally reserved for epic events like battles or religious miracles, he transforms portraiture into something monumental. The act of looking itself becomes heroic. It's as if he's arguing that a painter's gaze, when wielded skillfully enough, can reshape reality as profoundly as any war or divine intervention. And that brings us to the heart of Las Meninas. This isn't just a painting about a royal court or even about Velázquez himself. It's about the very act of creation, the moment a great artist commits his own vision to canvas. The painting captures its own making in real time, in real space, as no work of art ever had before. Maybe we should rename it the Immaculate Reflection, the perfect realization of the Renaissance ideal that art should be a mirror of nature. Yet, for all its dazzling realism, Las Meninas could never have been painted in a single moment, as it pretends to. The composition, the perspective, the details, none of it could have been achieved in an instant. It would have taken months, with Velázquez climbing up and down ladders to perfect the upper proportions. This supposed snapshot is in reality an impossibility. Paradox upon contradiction upon impossibility, Velázquez deliberately crafted Las Meninas to be unsolvable. This isn't an accident. It's a painting designed to defy any single interpretation, to remain forever elusive. The deeper we go, the more we realise how much more there is to uncover. It's a work that constantly outsmarts the viewer, always one step ahead. Velázquez made sure that Las Meninas exists in a perpetual state of mystery, and that's what makes it one of the greatest paintings of all time. It doesn't just depict reality, it becomes reality, shaping and reshaping itself in our minds every time we look at it. In the end, paradox becomes the norm, and Las Meninas remains a riddle that refuses to be solved. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw here, please tap the like button and subscribe to our channel for more of art's wonders.